What have been your early...
Actually, by the way, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. In terms of, like, obviously to contextualize this tournament, what are your reads on what the meta is like now? Like, what should we look for that'll be different from, like, obviously even the online qualifiers started in the old version. So what do you think we should expect to be different, and what should we look for in this tournament?
Right now, what I'm seeing with the meta, especially in NA teams right now, is that they have Chamber or Jet, not one or the other. And a lot of teams are trying to, like, substitute the Chamber for Jet, and, like, on certain maps. But, like, there's certain maps you can do it, and certain maps you can't. Like, if a team's running Chamber on Breeze and they don't run Jet, their defense might be good, but their attack's gonna be fucking abysmal. Like, and, like, the certain, like, teams are trying to like, I know Cloud9 was super good at that. I know they didn't qualify, but I think they had, like, the meta pretty much figured out. They had, like, on every map, I'd say their comp was, like, what you expect the comp to be. Obviously, they didn't qualify, but, like, so you can say in hindsight, oh yeah, they should have changed this, that, and that, but whatever. But looking on paper, I just think their comps and metas are just perfect. And, like, it's right now a lot of people, like, are running double duelists as well on certain maps. Like on Split, they just whip it out like Jet and Raze. Or I think it's map dependent a lot. Like what you'll see, to be honest. But, yeah.
Fair enough. I think that's an interesting take about the Chamber Jet thing. Is definitely something that I've noticed as well. And actually, I think that, not to lean on this too much, because I think we've really beaten this one, but, like, one of the things that I think 100 Thieves are trying to go through with, like, their restructuring, whatever's going on there, is, like, they were a team that really suffered with that whole kind of struggle to have, like, two players who could actually do both of them at the same time and really get, like, results that they needed. So, I think that when you see a team struggle with not being able to have both on certain maps, then you really feel that. And I think also the double duelist comment is really interesting as well. I actually had a conversation about this, like, on my stream not too long ago, because it was just kind of in general, like, the idea that now that on a number of maps you're not going to be running, like, a double controller, for example, because it's not as viable, you're going to end up with double something elsewhere. And, like, it's been interesting seeing certain teams, and I don't have an exact example in mind, so I'm going to say this really vaguely, but, like, it's been interesting seeing certain teams where they'll run similar compositions or whatever, like, on a map, but it'll be like Team A has chosen to have, like, double initiator and Team B has chosen to have, like, double duelist. And I think that's something that's going to be interesting to see what ends up being kind of more popular, or, like, if there is a really wide variety of how that sort of idea comes out when the international teams go against each other and they've come from different play styles and different regions, etc.
I mean, the way we do it in FPX is that we run it as a second comp. So we'll practice, like, two different comps.
Right.
And obviously when you're playing, like, we'll always, like, practice it and have it in our pocket. But you got to realize when you're playing these events and these qualifiers to qualify for fucking Reykjavik and champions and whatnot, these teams are going to do research. Like, these teams are going to have, like, 2 analysts, 1 coach, looking at demos, looking at, like, tendencies, looking at everything possible in the game. And then they might have, like, 10 VODs to go off. So then all of a sudden they get to the game, they're thinking that you're going to run a certain comp, and you whip out a double duelist. And everything they've worked for has just went out the window. Like, they'll be having, like, a 1-hour match prep with the team, saying, like, listen, this is how they play A, this is what they like to do, this is where they take map control. All of a sudden it comes to a game, we're double duelists, we're rushing A. Like, it's like best way it feels what's the word? It feels like bad, like, when you do that much prep and then you think, I've just wasted all my time.
Yeah.
And, like, it's like certain mind games as well. Like, you don't think about the players' POV.
Yeah,
I've just listened to my coaches for an hour.
Yes.
And they've whipped out a double duelist, and, like, everything I've listened to and took in, like, focused on, is pointless. And, like, yeah.
And it is, like, it's also, we're in an era where, like, a team running double Sentinel is way more popular than it ever was, right? Because Chamber's popular, and also people are bringing Sage on a number of maps to make up for the fact that they're not running a Viper and stuff like that. So not only is it like, they could just fuck us up and run double duelist, but it's like, actually, because I think it's probably, I would argue that outside of double controller, the next most popular would have always been double initiator. But because you have, like, kind of more flexibility and more viability to bring double the other roles now, it's like there's way more you have to pre-consider as potentially, like, coming out as a surprise.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, like, what I like about the meta now, though, is that the Astra meta's gone. Like that, I'm so fucking like you don't understand.
You want a fan?
Like you don't know. Honestly, like you got to understand that you're playing pracs. It's boring. Like you've got to do a slow default every single round.
Right.
Got to do a slow default. Then you go into ranked, where you think, okay, listen, I'm gonna run around, have fun, show off my individual skill. All of a sudden, I'm running a passive default in ranked. I'm running a passive default in scrims. I'm like, I was thinking, like, you understand? It was boring to play Valorant. But now they've spiced it up a little bit, and I'm like, that's the stuff I'm happy with right away, because like they understand that like it was shit to watch. First of all, it was shit to play, and they've just like they've said, listen, we're going to go back to the old meta, and like to me, I'm so happy for Riot for that. Like. But I think they maybe it took a bit too long, but you know what? At the end of the day, they've done it, so I'm happy. But yeah,
it is cool the amount of variety now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, to be fair, it goes the other way in CSGO, mate. When the org was OP, it was OP for like 1 year. We were just everyone knew about 2 months in, this is broken. And we were like, is it ever going to get fixed? Like, there was people winning majors off it, everything, mate. It was mental. Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.